What is up, SmackNPie here, and welcome back to another Little Nightmares video on the channel. Today we are specifically focusing on the content that was supposed to be in Little Nightmares 2 that didn't. You can find that through the digital art book that is in the digital deluxe edition if you pre-order it through Steam. However, I'm not gonna go through all of them, but I'm gonna show you guys the specific ones that really made it interesting for me to make this video in the first place. So you know what, without wasting any more time, let us begin. Okay, starting off with the hunter part. As you can see here, these are some of the concept designs that were supposed to be in the game. We were supposed to see some of these traps, as you can see here. On the left side, on the right side, that looks terrifying. The rock one, nasty. It is nasty doo-doo. And you can see the pig. What is happening with the pig up there? We don't talk about that. I would have loved these traps. The traps we got in the forest? Nah, fam, but who knows? We might get these traps in the DLC. A lot of it is reminding me of Inside, and you'll see later. Then this one really piqued my interest. As you can see here, this is another part of the school. So we went through this sequence in the kitchen in school. I always felt like there was a heavy presence there that actually never revealed itself. I then took it metaphorically, but here you can clearly see that that presence was written in the story for a specific reason, and that is the reason. That terrifying looking chef is the reason why we felt that presence. She was supposed to be there in the freaking kitchen in school, and she would have been chasing us. Nah, fam, I believe they scrapped the idea very fast because it didn't went more than this kitchen. I would have loved to see her trying to stealth from it, even if it's just for one frame or one shot. All you had to do is like sneak past her. That's all you need. I would have been perfect with it. I definitely missed chefs and cooks in this game of Little Nightmares 2. But look at these freaking bullies. Get your trash broken head out of here. I'm not the only one that feels like this, but in hospital it feels a lot of it was taken away from us. You have experienced it, but it is interesting how it looks in the concept art and how different it looks when it comes to the game itself. The reason I'm mentioning this is because of this. So initially the patients were also supposed to be watching television, and we were supposed to use those televisions to distract them and do our stuff. This middle picture reminds me of Court of Owls Batman. Really cool. I am loving it. I would have loved to see more of this. I would have loved to see every single thing. Listen, forest, hospital, school, everything felt really short. It seems like a lot of it was taken out as like, okay, this is not necessary. Take it out, take it out, take it out. I would have loved to see more from patients. So that television and patients, that at least confirm one thing, because you can see mono in the middle. Then we get to viewers, and don't tell me this does not remind you of Inside the game. But you can see some kids turning into viewers, which is something I actually haven't seen. I only seen big adults, and you can see the first picture resembles that. It's torturous, no thank you, but this is actually a part of the hospital, if you will. Then we get to the ending. If you guys remember, in the ending there was a sequence with Thin Man on train. So 6 was taken away by Thin Man, and then we only meet her when the final thing comes into play. So here you can see the concept art of Mono and 6 in the train with all of this. Y'all remember that one specific scene where 6 was begging for Mono's help through television, and we even helped her half. Then she was taken away, and then Thin Man chased us through the trains. I wished that this was the sequence instead, where we take 6 out, Thin Man escapes as well. We run towards the train, we abort the train, Thin Man is away, we escape through the train, and this is the sequence that happens. You can see they even made the train. They even made us walk outside the train as well. Look at this. There is a whole sequence that we never got to play. Look at this concept. There is a subway. We were supposed to walk all the way here. I would have loved that. Look at all this place, because we've actually played this area a little bit with only Mono, but not 6. But imagine Thin Man chasing us through here. Y'all might be like, okay, well, then what about the chase scene in the train with Thin Man? Well, that is what I just said. You meet Thin Man at the end boss battle anyway. He knows Signal Tower. He knows you're going to Signal Tower. Why not just spend some time with 6 here in the subway? Even more so, you can clearly see Mono and 6 going towards... That looks a lot more like Runaway Kid. Hold on a second. I didn't thought this through. Okay, so I read this somewhere. I don't know where, but it was like there's a whole sequence where with Monster 6, and this seems to suggest why. Look at this. we remember the flesh walls. What if those flesh walls actually turn into this? So we've seen these doors, we've seen how it plays out, and as you can clearly see, Mono is helping Monster 6 escaping from that. You can see all these monsters chasing us. In a way, it is all happening. They went for a lot of it. Each interpretation is different from the other one, the previous one. You can clearly see on the second one that they went for a lot of endings. There's this area that I love with television where Mono finally enters and see people who got sucked into television ending up here. People, we see clothes, people being naked. Those are actually confirmed to be, and I believe it's right down here, their whole flesh is taken away by the television and they end up here in this area. The flesh walls or flesh wall monster, and that is the amalgamation of every person that television has sucked. But this would have been cool if we had seen those bodies coming out of television, but it would have been too much on the nose, so I can't appreciate it, but it still would have been cool and epic to see it, you know? And finally, we see a destroyed Pale City. This we've actually seen in the comics. In the comics, the final episode, we see Thin Man, presumably, and the kids running, and there is an event that happened. If the whole city is just getting destroyed, and we see Thin Man, it seems like Signal Tower finally cast its spell to the entire Pale City. And this was the case. I believe this is something we will actually see. Hopefully, I hope so. Please give us that scene. The final episode of the comic is actually really good, so check it out if you haven't already. Then if you wanted to see Thin Man's face whilst as he's laughing, they clearly wanted Mono and Six to escape together from train as the Thin Man is chasing them. And finally, this was the supposed ending, or at least one of the planned out endings that they wanted. As you can see, Mono all alone on the chair and television's behind him. At first, it is all a mess. In the second picture, it is still a mess, but it is coming together. And finally, when he became the Thin Man, everything behind him is his now. And then he cast its spell through Signal Tower, and then we see the destruction of Pale City and people getting sucked into televisions, and then those television sucking people's flesh and making this flesh monster inside the Signal Tower that we've encountered. Again, what we got was great, but I think this would have helped at least explain this mystery of the Signal Tower, because this is something everybody knows. Mono is the Thin Man. Everybody debate whether Six did the right thing by letting him go, or Six is the villain or whatnot, but this Signal Tower mystery can be learned through this right here. This explains most of Signal Tower, so I believe it is a creative choice. Maybe they wanted to do more, or they want to do more in the future. Maybe they will use some of these, more of this that we are seeing here in the DLC. The reason I'm saying this is because you see this character right here. I don't know who that is. And then you see this barber. I've heard so many stories about this character right here, and I would love to have just a small sequence with him or her in the Pale City. So I believe there will be some characters returning to the DLC, maybe not. I'm just daydreaming at this point. Most of it is just cut content. Don't quote me on any of that. These are just cut content that I would have loved to see in the freaking DLC. And finally, don't tell me this shot is not epic. Look at the Signal Tower behind, snow falling, Mono dragging Six's lifeless body, or at least that's what this shot is making us assume, towards the Signal Tower. Gosh, I love the style of Little Nightmares. Tarza Studios, wow, man, give us more content. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That was my take on some of these unused characters. But regardless, do let me know which character would you actually would have loved to see. Which sequence would you have loved to see in the game? Do let me know, and I will see you in the next video, which will be Little Nightmares 3, 6, and Mono stuff. So make sure you're subscribed and notifications on. Help me get to 75k, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and peace.